Hi students, good evening. This is a rapid revision of the upper limb. Exam going students, they are so scared about the theory questions. Though we have read everything, just few important points are important for you to write the theory. So just we are going to concentrate in the important points which is present here. Number one is the clavipectoral fascia. That's a very important short note. So let us see. Start with the clavipectoral fascia. First you should know this is the pectoralis major muscle. Beneath that you have the pectoralis minor. So first point is lies beneath the pectoralis major muscle and it encloses two muscles here. So it's coming from the deep cervical fascia and it encloses the subclavius, and here comes and then it encloses the pectoralis minor. After enclosing the pectoralis minor, it continues into the axilla as axillary sheath. So what are the muscles enclosed by the clavipectoral fascia? One is subclavius, another one is pectoralis minor. In between these two areas it is called as clavipectoral fascia, and this clavipectoral fascia is medially it is thickened and it is called as costo. This is costal margin, so it is called costoclavicular ligament, and laterally there is the coracoid process, so it is called coracoclavicular ligament. And next is the structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia. The mnemonic is call, right? So first we have written the pectoralis minor and then what are the muscles enclosed, and then medially what is laterally what is the ligament, and continues down as suspensory ligament of the axilla. And what are the structures piercing is the mnemonic is call. C for cephalic vein, one vein, and the A for acromiothoracic artery, and the L for lateral pectoral nerve, and the another one L for lymphatics. So cephalic vein and the lymphatics are going inside. Okay, they are going inside, and acromiothoracic artery and the lateral pectoral nerve are coming out through the clavipectoral fascia. So these are about the key points for the clavipectoral fascia, right? So next thing, axillary artery. Axillary artery, I just wanted to mention that important key points. Three parts. These parts are divided by the muscle called pectoralis minor, and part 1 sal sap is the mnemonic. SAL, sal and sap. For part 1 only one artery, only one branch, part 2 two branches, part 3 three branches, easy to remember. And the extent is outer border of first rib to the teres major. And the next one is S for superior thoracic, and A for acromiothoracic, and L for lateral thoracic. And the next one is subscapular, anterior circumflex, and posterior circumflex humeral artery. So this is about the sap for axillary. At least minimum the student should know these points. And then number 3 is the very important question, Epps point. Epps point you have to mention which trunk of the brachial plexus. So you have to mention as upper trunk of the brachial plexus. This diagram is very important. So these are all roots of the brachial plexus. This is the trunk of the brachial plexus. These are all called divisions of the brachial plexus, and the divisions they join and forms the cords of the brachial plexus, right? So where can you see the roots? Behind the neck, behind the scalenus muscle, and the division you can see beneath the clavicle. Understood? And from the roots you have two nerves emerging out, dorsal scapular and long thoracic. But what we want to concentrate is Epps point. The nerves coming out from the Epps point is suprascapular nerve above and nerve to subclavius below. Understood? And the most important, it forms a lateral cord. So the most important nerve in the lateral cord is, here there is a mistake, kindly excuse. This is the M. This M is for musculocutaneous nerve, right? So musculocutaneous nerve. So musculocutaneous nerve supplies the biceps brachialis and coracobrachialis. So biceps is the powerful supinator. So what will happen if the biceps is gone, the musculocutaneous nerve is gone? The person will not be able to supinate. So what will happen? Pronation. So the arm will be that hand will be pronated. Number 2, suprascapular nerve supplies supraspinatus and infraspinatus. Supraspinatus action is 0 to 15 degree abduction. So what will happen? Adduction. That's why the baby's hand is adducted. And then number 3 is infraspinatus action is lateral rotation. So lateral rotation, if it is gone, it leads to medial rotation. That's why the baby's hand is adducted, medially rotated and pronated. The next thing is subclavius. Nerve to subclavius supplies subclavius. Subclavius stabilizes joint. So drooping of the shoulder occurs. Understood? So these are the components of Epps paralysis. So this is about the Epps. Next is flexor retinaculum. flexor retinaculum attachment you have to write. From attachments you have to mention as pisiform and the hamate on the medial side. She looks too pretty, try to catch her. This is a mnemonic. So pisiform is the proximal row and hamate is the distal row. Like that, you have to write scaphoid and the trapezium. So two bones, trapezium, trapezoid, like that it will be coming in the distal row. So this side trapezium, right? So this is trapezium, this pisiform. From here to here the band is going. So this is a modification of deep fascia, and the structures above, below, and the structures piercing. Below are radial bursa and the ulnar bursa. Radial bursa is towards the lateral side, you have the pollicis tendon. So flexor pollicis longus is inside this bursa, and here the four digitorum tendons of superficialis and digitorum profundus are here. In between these two, you have the median nerve. This tunnel is called as carpal tunnel between the flexor retinaculum and the carpal bones, right? And above the flexor retinaculum, you have medial to lateral side. You should not change this while writing. Ulnar nerve, ulnar artery. Why ulnar nerve should be on the medial side? Because here you have that this is the palm, right? This is a thenar eminence. What I am showing is a thenar eminence. The subcutaneous muscle in the thenar eminence is your palmaris brevis. This palmaris brevis is supplied by the superficial branch of ulnar nerve, right? So this is outside you should write ulnar nerve and ulnar artery and palmar cutaneous branch of ulnar nerve and palmaris longus tendon and palmar cutaneous branch of median nerve. So this is how you have to write the order. This canal is called as Guyon's canal. This will be asked in the MCQ. And then the structure which pierces the flexor retinaculum and lies in the groove of the trapezium. Can you see there is a groove in the trapezium? That is your flexor carpi radialis. Understood? So this is about the flexor retinaculum. It structures above, below, piercing. At least minimum we expect these answers in the student's paper. And then extensor retinaculum is attachment is lower part of the dorsal aspect of the radius. To this side you have the medial side pisiform. So this is the attachment for the flexor extensor retinaculum, and here there are 6 compartments. So compartment number 1, this outdropping muscles, abductor pollicis longus and the extensor pollicis brevis. Number 2, the long tendons, extensor carpi radialis longus and the brevis. Number 3, again the thumb, the tendon going to the thumb is extensor pollicis longus. And the fourth one means we have to talk about the digits. So extensor digitorum and extensor indicis, index finger. So indicis, along with that posterior interosseous nerve and the anterior interosseous artery will be coming here. This posterior interosseous nerve forms the pseudoganglion inside. Understood? This is a very important MCQ. Another one, pseudoganglion, is formed in the posterior division of the axillary nerve after supplying the teres minor muscle, right? There are two pseudoganglion in the upper lip. And then 5th compartment is digiti minimi. Digiti minimi is the small little finger. And the last one is extensor carpi ulnaris, 6th compartment. That's all over about the extensor retinaculum. And the next is the carpal tunnel syndrome. So the tunnel between the carpal bones and the flexor retinaculum. Most importantly, you have the median nerve here. So flexor pollicis longus tendon is here and the digitorum tendons are here. In between the nerve is there. But if there is any dislocation of this lunate bone or any pregnancy, myxedema and other causes, this nerve will be compressed because this nerve supplies the thenar muscles. So opposition of the thumb is not possible. So the thumb will be lying on the side of the hand. That is called ape thumb deformity, and the skin over this area is there is loss of sweating and all. So this is about the median nerve injury, right? Of course it supplies the medial to lumbricals. So loss of flexion of the metacarpophalangeal joint and extension of interphalangeal joint is last. And this is the cubital fossa. The cubital fossa, you have the medial boundary is pronator teres and the lateral boundary is brachioradialis, and the base is formed by the imaginal line join the two epicondyles, and the apex is the meeting point, and the roof you have to write one important, of course, skin, superficial fascia and bicipital aponeurosis, and one important vein, median cubital vein. So we expect the median cubital vein in the roof, and in the floor you need to write two muscles, one is brachialis, another one is supinator, right? And then contents M for median nerve, B for brachial artery, another B for the biceps tendon. These three are the contents. Clinical anatomy, intravenous infusion. So on the roof you should write, don't forget to write bicep aponeurosis and the median cubital vein. That vein is used for intravenous infusions and blood transfusion for everything. And then they measure the BP in the brachial artery in this place only. Lumbricals, there are 4 lumbricals, okay, medial 2 and the lateral 2. These are different. The medial 2 you are putting double M there. So medial 2 lumbricals are bipinnate and the lateral 2 lumbricals are unipinnate, right? Unipinnate means one side, unipinnate. And then next is lumbricals originate from the flexor digitorum profundus tendon, flexor digitorum profundus tendon, and they get inserted into the extensor expansion. Here you have the expansion, the dorsum of the, show me. Yeah, here you have the there is extensor tendons are coming here, and here they expand and forms a expansion called extensor expansion. So the lumbricals and the interossei, everything will be coming and inserted into the extensor expansion. So what happens when the lumbrical is getting contracted? So this will pull, and this causes the flexion of the metacarpophalangeal joint and the extension of the interphalangeal joint. So this is the action. So lumbrical start from here and ends into the extensor expansion. So when they pull, the action is flexion of the metacarpophalangeal joint, and then medial lateral 2 lumbricals are supplied by the median nerve, and medial 2 lumbricals are supplied by the deep branch of ulnar nerve. The next last question is deltoid. Very rarely asked. You have anterior fibers, middle fibers and the posterior fibers. Anterior fibers from the clavicle, middle fibers from the acromion, and the posterior fibers are from the spinous process. And the action according to that, they all inserted into the tibial tuberosity, and the nerve supplies here, axillary nerve winds around the surgical neck, so they supply and it supplies. Action is anterior fibers, come on, show me. So anterior fibers are here from the clavicle. Listen, the anterior fibers are from the clavicle, and when they pull, the shoulder will be going like this. This is called flexion, and the middle fibers are coming from here and getting inserted. So middle fibers lift up and they form the abduction, and the posterior fibers are coming from the back. So what happens? The posterior fibers forms a extension. Thank you.